There's no fade in the music. It's a hard cut. Hey, how do I connect that to today's subject? Well, what's the hard cut when you finish your event? What's next? I know it's a beer. Got to face packing up all the stuff. But what about your client? What are your obligations to your client when the show is over? Because frankly, I don't think we can just take the money, hand over a recording and walk away anymore. We got to deliver value, because there's just so much out there on the internet that if you just deliver the recording live and walk away, you're leaving so much content and opportunity on the table for you and for your client. So whether you're doing productions for others, you're doing productions for yourself, we can't end when the production ends. We need to go further. Now, who does these things is obviously up to you and the client, but there's a lot of things that you need to look at. And I'm apologetic for doing this, but yeah, I just put into a chat AI product. I just finished my show. What are the things you think I should pass to my client after the show? I got a ridiculously long list of stuff. Absolutely ridiculously long. 14 bullet points. And I mean bullet points as in subject bullet points, not little ideas. 14 subject bullet points. And one of them was recordings. So what are you going to give back to your client? Recordings. Yes, but is that just a final recording? Or are you going to give them the other views, the other takes? Did you have a photographer there taking snapshots, or can you have a set of images around the event? Maybe you had a PR person there doing that. So that's not an issue, but did they? And even if they did, if you got fantastic cameras like the ones Mike uses, then you might find that taking some stills out of the video images would be good. And you probably want to do that again at the recorded content stage, not what's produced onto YouTube like we are here. Otherwise, you're going to have enormous drop in quality. And that's just the images. What about the outtakes and the little bits that were useful that didn't make it to live, but good quality content? Was there anyone doing interviews? Was there anyone doing pre-match, post-match interviews to the guests, to the attendees? And if there wasn't, then maybe that's something else you need to think about doing up the front. But when it gets to the end, it's too late to think of these things. So that's why I'm throwing them at you now, so that you think about them, so that you plan your next event to be able to deliver all these things. There's all that social media stuff. Now, again, you may not be responsible for it, but if you're not responsible for it, the person that is responsible for it, where are they going to get their content from? What's going to happen to all the PDF and PowerPoint and slide decks that were used during the event? Are they going to be given to anybody, or are you just going to delete them? What's going to happen to those? Are they going to be handed out? Are they going to be shared? Is your copy the same as the copy that was given at the beginning? Because if your copy has changed because they made last minute changes, you don't need to make sure that your client or whoever's going to look after all the marketing knows which slide deck was the slide deck used in the presentation, so that they can decide which slide deck they're going to share. We ain't got time to go through all 14 of these thinking about this. We've only got an hour. social media strategies is the one that comes up. I think it's 4 times, but from different areas. So you've got the audio. Can you make a podcast of it? What is the audio going to be used? Can the audio be used on its own? The video content, how's that going to be used? Can you use that on its own? Have you got the video content with subtitles? And Mike reminded me of this on our Tuesday show. Because there's a lot of places on social media where people don't really listen to it. They just see the screens. And if you don't have subtitles, there's nothing for them to connect to. So subtitles are really important. When you get to, the social media sharing snippet, as I would call them, snippet video platforms, you can't do anything on that without subtitles or some sort of text on there, because a lot of those aren't ever heard. They only read the words, and then they catch it in a doom scroll. So that sort of content needs to have the words. It needs to have the captions. Because otherwise, how's the marketing person going to know what captions to put on there? Even if it's their responsibility, you're still going to have to deliver the captions with the content. And that, of course, is a different version of the content than what you probably delivered out there. There'll be other versions. If you have sign interpreters and people like that, and you have foreign languages, then you're going to have to support all that content as well. Sorry, am I putting you off doing an event because I'm just piling all this stuff on? But all this stuff is valuable. And the amount of time you do in creating this content, maybe you want to replan the way you build your whole event so that you can deliver all this content. It's got great value. And then what about all the swag? What about all the things that happen in the room? They have a life after? Are there digital versions of what happened in the room that will be useful after the event? Was anyone promoting a book? And what happened to all the books? Is there another electronic version of the book that's going to go out? Please don't tell me this is up to the marketing department of the company involved, because they can't do anything unless you nudge them. And frankly, you will know more about the event than most of the marketing people. Even if the marketing people did all the content creation before the event and they got to do it after, we know so much happens in an event which the organizers, the customer, will never realize unless you bring it to their attention. And if you do, your value as an event coordinator, as an event producer, whatever you're doing in the event, your value has just gone up enormously because you're helping them make more value from the event. And then we've got the other thing, which is easier to do for online events than face-to-face. But what about all the registration stats? And I don't mean just the who registered in the event. I mean, who turned up? You had breakout rooms. Did you capture in any way who went to which breakout room? As I said, online, it's a lot easier because most quality apps should have those stats delivered to you straight away. But if you're doing a virtual event or you're doing an in-person event, could you just have some sort of, I don't know, barcode or something on the doors so people swipe that when they go in? Have you got a way of capturing who went into each room and when they did, so that you've got the stats you can then deliver to the customer? This room wasn't very well attended. Only 3 people went in. This room was over attended. It was, in the end, there were people standing. It was too big. It was too small for people to turn up. All that information is really good stuff. And again, that's another example of stuff that you will see, but the client might not even know because they've just created these rooms. They've got these speakers, but they won't know how many people turned up in each room. So there's much more content that you can create without such a great amount of effort because you guys are there anyhow. So why not just collect a bit more data while you're there? If you can't count how many people there that are there, then just get one of your team to get their mobile phone out and just take a shot at the beginning of the presentation and at the end of it, so that people can visually see how many people were there. You can do that for breakout rooms as well. It's a very easy thing to do. It doesn't take much effort. Well, it does for me because I'm useless at using my mobile phone. But for the rest of you guys, you just lift your camera up, take a photo, and then just pull that information in later. It's really useful data, because justifying your event is not just having a pretty video. It's what people do in the event and what people do after the event. And maybe we need some more tech to help us. I saw a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago. He was trying to use AI to count the number of people who raised their hands. And it was a bit dodgy, a little bit flaky, but it did it. He just, held the camera up, and it was seeing a video of all the people, and it did manage to count them. I don't think it was perfect in its count, but it did have a go, and it did provide a reasonable answer I think on the second or third attempt. So that really made me start to think about how maybe we can do a lot of those things which aren't traditionally done in an event, to bring some of that data that automatically happens on a virtual event, because the stats are there, polls and hand rates. Actually, I'll let you into a little secret. They're not. Because just thinking about it, you can't run a report in that product for hand raised. You certainly can't do it in the T product. I don't think you get that stat out from other events. So it's not even captured online. They might capture the number of people in and how long they were there, but stats are important. So I'm going to bring my guest on now. I'm going to bring Mike and see if he's got anything that he thinks that in the hardware would help with us doing all this stuff. I'm pre-releasing the question to him. He's got a chance as he virtually walks on the stage to think about this, because it's not fair to just drop him in it. It's what you do in a webinar when your guest fails to turn up or something. And there he is.
Hello, everybody. Good Friday to everybody. And so, is there hardware that can help you?
Yeah.
Like, John, what do you think first?
Well, I suppose the first thing I think about is obviously you got cameras running everywhere. How easy is it to take a still? I know that there's some digital cameras where you can take a still while the video is still running. I just wondered if there's an easy way to set that up in the hardware, or maybe we just have to, I don't know, record a timestamp so that we can go back and get those stills later. What do you think?
Sure. Again, recording a timestamp of, if you notice that something happened at that particular point, sure. Again, it all comes down to the gear that you guys are running. Guys and gals are running is basically the way that the whole situation is. So when it comes to hardware, you could easily be recording, again, if you're doing ISO recordings, you could easily be, if you do, depending on your gear, again, if you have access to that ISO recording, you could potentially go into that file live and grab some things live. So grab some frames live if you wanted to. Okay. If you wanted to, again, it really comes down to the capabilities of the gear, because of the fact that you needed to have that screen, like taking snapshots, every so often. Now, again, you could always, if you wanted to, you could really get really cute if you wanted to, and all of a sudden, do some scripting in the background with good old, and we'll make fun of it, Uncle Claude. If we take Mr. Uncle Claude and do some scripting in conjunction with your gear, where all of a sudden you hit a button, and all of a sudden that button causes a screenshot to happen on something, on some sort of gear. I can't see why that couldn't happen. So,
So most cameras are going to be operating in the professional area, are going to be probably operating in 4K mode, aren't they? They're going to be capturing their source material in 4K. The
Yeah,
production,
again, depending on the cameras, yeah. If they are
Yeah.
4K camera, you're probably best to do 4K 60 at it. But again, you could always get away with 1080p 60 cameras and just take a 1080p 60 picture too. So
but if you have got a 4K camera and you're capturing 4K raw, then that's going to be a much better source if you want to pull out some images. But as you say, the 1080s can do as well. But yeah, that could be a justification for you recording your 4K, because you can get good quality snapshots, good quality.
right.
Yeah,
And again,
images
that would be based on your contract with the client. If that, they want, again, it really comes down to your kit that you're going to be taking out to the venue. And it's also going to come down to the contract that you have in place that, okay, so I'm going to be streaming at 1080p 60, great. But can I record at 4K because they want 4K in post so they can upload an archive of the copy in 4K? Fine. But again, if they do, then that means all your gear has to be 4K. You don't have to necessarily stream at 4K, but you have to then, of course, have all the infrastructure in your kit that you're bringing has to be 4K, because you don't want to, especially if you're doing images, you don't want to upscale from a 1080p 60
No.
to make that any bigger.
But you can record in camera, possibly. A lot of people, they can record in camera simultaneously. You can do an ISO recording, as you said, so that you record all the streams and collect all the streams somewhere. I'm suddenly thinking that we need a little app on the phone to give to the customer, and they just, whenever something interesting happens, they go like that, and then you just give them a whole load of, a whole load of images based on the number of times they hit it and where they hit it on the timestamp.
Yeah, sure. Again, either that, or if it doesn't actually take the physical picture at that particular point, at least you are now giving them where they was like, oh yeah, I like that, click. So now you're officially getting the time code of that. So you could actually then scrub within, a few seconds now to get that big picture between X time and X time, right? Where you can go like within 5 seconds before they hit it. All of a sudden it happened and it's like a couple of seconds later and they push. So you'd want to give them, like maybe 30 seconds on either side for them to actually choose then
Love that.
a good frame out of the 30 frames or 60 frames that you have per second.
That's fantastic, because you've now given them a short clip and they've got an ability to do a 10, 20-second clip around what they thought was interesting.
Right. Or if they actually
My
know
AI
something's
didn't come up with
coming
that.
too. Right. And on top of that too, let's say this person already knows that, knows the speech that's being given by the presenter. They'll go, oh yeah, this is going to be an important part. Start. And then they're waiting for it to finish. And now they've already put in some sort of code, shall we call it, of start here, end here. And that actually eventually could turn into a short or something they can put on social media for TikTok, Instagram, you name it here.
Yeah. If they capture the time, then it's a question of, somebody, it could be you, it could be them, it doesn't matter. Just the fact is somebody can go to the original recordings, and then, as you say, something could have happened and the live people didn't get it because the live people were looking at the speaker at the time, or they were looking at the screen at the time, or whatever. But if you've got all the ISO recordings, you can go back to that point and see which camera had the view, and therefore that is the bit of content that they need to then promote whatever happened, good, bad, or whatever.
Yeah, and again, it comes down to, again, based on your contract with the client, are you doing it? Are they doing it? Are they hiring a third party doing it? Here's the raw files, go for it. Am I doing it? Okay, then it's going to cost you X amount of time, because now I would give you just X with the normal package, and then Y comes the next package of, if you want all this detailing and such, I can do it for you, client, but just realize it's X amount of dollars more.
If you're running a big event, you'd be stupid to reject the opportunity of having all the source files. If unless you're doing no marketing afterwards whatsoever, I can't see anyone in their right mind saying, "Oh yeah, that'll be jolly useful. Yeah, we can make use of that." It's a differentiator, as far as I'm concerned, between somebody who's just turned up, with a couple of cameras and probably not appropriate, and the audio is just about there, but not that amazing, and somebody does it professionally and properly with proper cameras and proper audio. And again, the audio again, sometimes you get people talk over each other. If you collect all the audios separately, you can undo that overlap and make use of it. Yeah, I totally agree what you say, Mike, that it's a contract thing, but you're adding value. And if you're adding value, you're adding value for both of you. And to be honest, if you guys are there doing their job, there's times when we all know they're just sitting there waiting for something to happen. Well, if they're prepared for something to happen and they got some extra, an extra little bit of kit, even if it's, as I said, even if it's just a camera taking some stills, they're adding value to them being there. And that way, everybody's getting more value out of the whole experience. Because if you're going to put all that effort into an event, you really want to squeeze out every opportunity for you and the client to get more value, and for the attendees as well to get more value. How often do people go on recordings, come on and ask for recordings, even when they've been at the event? Now, the ones who ask for recordings who haven't turned up, I'm never that keen in giving them recordings. The people that turned up, when they ask for a recording, that's because they are afraid they missed something or they didn't understand something and they want to hear it again. I often have people at my events who will say to us, I want a copy of the slide deck. Now, we automatically always send them copies of slide decks, but you know that somebody's missed a slide or they didn't able to get their phone up to take a photo of the slide quick enough. We just tell them, we're going to provide all the slide decks at the end. You'll have them all available to you so you can check all the slides and copy them. You don't have to worry about copying them during the event. That is a value add. And for some people, it will get to be a point of, we expect them. So they have to be there. But again, this is just adding value to the event.
Yeah.
Otherwise, sorry, carry on.
No, I was just going to say too, John, back in the day too, when I've gone to certain events where they had pre-made the actual slides on USB sticks. So again, we're getting into, yes, I know we're more digital now where we just give everybody a QR code and they'll go and find the slides. Yes, understood. But back in the day, that was actually a bit of a pain still. And of course, it didn't hurt that the USB stick was also, it was merch basically, because you could actually have all kinds of other documents in this USB stick too. So if all the presenters get you the slides ahead of time, then you could actually have all the slide decks on the USB stick. You could actually have, everybody's business cards scanned in as PDFs on the USB stick. Again, it just again, when I've worked with different event coordinators, I've seen certain tricks like this and I'm like, yeah, that's smart. Because again, too, not only did they give it to me as for me to have it a backup as an AV person, that same USB stick, but it actually was the same one as the merch, right? So I knew that automatically, even though I was putting up the slides for them and I was changing the slides for them, that was actually the USB stick was not only for my purpose, which made perfect sense to them too, to give it to me, but also was for the purposes of everybody going home with a USB stick that had the slides on it. So yes, that is taking me back, a few decades. But the point being is that, yes, there's nothing stopping you from doing that today. You don't need a really huge USB stick to get things done that way. But again, yes. So as you can see from what John and I are talking about today, even though we are production people, really we're also event coordinators too. And the event, if you're dealing with a good event coordinator, then you don't have to help them. But I've seen way too many times in the thousands of events that I've done that I'm covering the event coordinator in one form or another because the event coordinator went, oh, I forgot to do that. Mike, can you do that? Well, I'm at the event. I've got the gear. What do you want? What do you mean? Can I do that? Now you're asking me now. And if it's something doable that is not going to cost you anything because you don't need anything special gear and everything's set up, then it's at your discretion if you want to be nice to the customer. If not, then you are now going to the event coordinator going, what are you doing to me? I needed this, or I needed that. I needed this, I needed that. Don't have these brainstorms now when we've been talking for weeks now on, what type of gear that I'm going to be bringing. And do you need anything else? Because I'm going to charge you if you do. So but yeah, there's all kinds of different ways. And from ISO recordings to could I have actually had a duplicator on site where, and I've seen this before back in the day too. I've seen people actually burn DVDs of sessions. So if it was like a multi-day session, if you wanted to buy copies of that video of the actual session, you could actually buy it as a DVD and it would be a custom branded DVD as well. So yes, it's not, there's not the limitation of, oh, am I going to be able to stream this? Yes, but fine. That's obviously going to be severely important day of, but day before, or even weeks before, you're making sure that with that actual event coordinator or client, depending on if they've got, it depends on what level you're at with your client, making sure that they've got all their needs met. Then making sure that post-show, which is what we're focusing on today, post-show, that they got all their needs met, right? That they have, quote unquote, paid for, right?
Yeah. And if you've got speakers, what about a little interview pre or post with the speakers that you could record with one of their team, interviewing the speaker? What I'm trying to say is you're there, you've got the kit there. It doesn't take a great deal more effort to do these little things, but the value to the client, it's going to be enormous payback. Because if you think about how much it would cost you to do all these little bits on their own, you've got all the cost of the team being there and the tech being there. Well, the team are there, the tech is there. So just create a laundry list of all these little things that you could do. Base it on what you have, your equipment. Don't base it on what we suggest. If you haven't got 4K cameras that can't record in 4K, don't offer it. Just offer what you've got in your kit, and then see if there's anything extra on that bucket list or laundry list, whatever list you want to use. But whatever you have on that list, whatever they find that's useful, that is adding value. That means you can charge more. They'll be happy to pay more because they're getting more value out of their event. They're getting more value out of their speakers. Their speakers will probably feel more involved, although some of them will want to rush off and probably want to charge more. But if you've got a speaker who, if there's an event coordinator, which might not be you, you've got a speaker who is worth their weight in gold. You've waited a whole year to get this speaker to do a presentation at your event. Why not suggest that there's like a pre-interview or a post-interview while they're there. And then the client can then ask the speaker, sign the speaker up to doing it. Don't do it on the day. Sign it all up as part of the whole event process. And you've just got much more value for all three of you. Because the speaker does well out of it as well. If the speaker's got post-match type speech to do, a little summary or a little Q&A, a private Q&A for VIPs, there's lots of things you can do to add value. And it just makes the whole event bigger than just the 1 to 5 hours of the actual physical event. Extends its value for everybody, and for the audience and for the speakers and for your customer. And it makes more money for you as well. Let's be honest. Do all these extra value things. You make value of them, and high earn. Yes. And if you don't know what to say, well, as I said, you'll be overloaded. Just type it into any of your AI products. Going to do an event, describe what the event is, ask it for what other information or videos or content I could collect during the event, which I could use post-event, and it will spill out an enormous long laundry list of things, or it should do. Of course, some systems will do a laundry list and some will do a bucket list, but you know, it'll be a list anyhow when it might.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and again, it comes all down to as well. So if you can do it, so from the production end of us, can we do it? Right? Is it small enough? Is it, you know, is it going to really take up that many quote unquote man hours? Right? That's the important thing, is always to make sure that you're covering your man hour costs, no matter if it's for you or for your crew. Right? So that's very, very important when it comes to production, especially on site. So let's say we take this example that John was giving of pre and post interviews of the speakers. Seeing it done all the time. Does that mean it's extra kit? Yes. You would not want to take away from your main kit. So I would set up, you know, a room, a small little room. And again, this would be something that you would actually coordinate with the venue /
you could have an extra breakout room. You could have a spare breakout room and use that, couldn't you?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be huge. It could be even a dressing room of some sort, green room even, depending on the venue. And basically what you're doing there is it's basically 2, maybe 3 camera shoot as well. It doesn't have to be that sophisticated, but you know, again, you're doing an interview. So it needs to have that interview feel of a reporter going up to somebody going, so what did you think of your presentation today? Or, you know, whatever the actual questions are, right? Again, it would be targeted towards the event, hopefully, and going, you know, did you feel that you did a good job? You know, whatever the questions may be. But basically you have that person there that, you know, you sit them down, you know, so, you know, pre and post. So what are you going to be talking about with us today? And again, this is also what we would call in the industry too, a bit of B-roll too, is that you could actually have this content up on the IMAG information as well, where you now taking that IMAG stuff in between switch over. So you now are able to keep the, you know, people, depending on if it's one room, multiple rooms, but it gives you some other content to keep your audience engaged so that they're not bored and going, oh, I'm going to run away for half an hour because there's nothing from now until the next half hour. Well, then you've lost your audience for a half an hour, where you could have actually had snippets of whatever up on the screens as well. So there's all kinds of different ways that this can be taken, even post as well as pre, but as well as live too. So again, it all comes down to managing the client's expectations of would you like that? Okay, it's this additional cost. Would you like that? Okay, it's this additional cost. Because I've run into that many, many, many times. And actually Tony's, go ahead.
Tony, go on. What's Tony got to say? I just switched screens, so I missed that one.
Yeah, so Tony just said, he says, in this world of cancel culture, are you encountering more clients who who only want pre and post, not live. Interesting. Johnny?
I do have quite a few clients where I can persuade them not to do live. There are, there's an argument for quite a few events where you don't want to stream it live, because if you do, it makes it easy for people not to turn up. So we have some of our events, we've been really naughty that we've taken away the live, and we've charged people to come to the event. And if they want the recordings, another cheeky thing to do, I shouldn't say this in public, but we charge them the same if they just want the recording. And then we very obviously mention that they're paying the same as the people that turn up, and therefore somebody else will be eating their food when we do catering.
Yeah.
Just
and
to
again,
encourage them to try and turn up.
Yeah, and again, that's very, and I'll use this from the broadcast world. That's very pay-per-view of you, John. So if I wanted to watch, insert boxing match here, but I couldn't watch the boxing match live, and they say, "Oh yeah, you can watch the replay." Well, why should I charge you less for watching the replay?
Exactly.
So it's the same concept that John was just mentioning. In my world, for the most part, my clients, very little. And again, I've been doing it for a long, long time. So take this with, it's not recent. I'm not doing this recently, but in the past, I was doing a lot more live than I was doing pre and post. And for the most part, they were more worried about live back in the day. Not saying that clients don't worry about live now, they do. But I was doing it when streaming was really, really new, which was, over 20 years ago. So it was a cool thing to do back in the day. So when it was a cool thing back in the day, which it probably still is cool, but I'm just not in it as much as I used to be. But when it comes to back then, it was cool that, oh yeah, we're going to be able to stream it live. So then it was like, oh, okay. Now again, did they know that the quality back then was going to be not great? Yes.
Yeah.
Did they know that they barely had enough bandwidth to actually see it back then? Yes. But again, for those people that couldn't fly in for the event and you wanted to make sure that they were able to see the content live, that was a big upsell. So It really comes down to your clients, and it comes down to, now, if you're talking the world of cancel culture, again, of course, we're talking too that you are actually putting a major delay on the actual content that's going out. And I've done that before as well, meaning that we recorded live and we broadcasted live, but we put in a buffer of X amount of time in for the client. So you actually saw it live, but yet it was what we call in the broadcast world tape delayed, meaning that we would again negotiate with the client going, okay, well, this is going to be live, but we're actually not showing it for X amount of time based on your contract with me, which was sometimes it was a 30-minute delay, sometimes it was an hour delay. And of course, if they were okay with it, then we would do the equivalent of what broadcast television would do, which was X amount of second delay, just to make sure that, should there be any foul language or something that was inappropriate, that we had time to take that out. But again, this was not a cheap client.
No.
And again, this was not a cheap, production, because again, there were people manned to make sure that accidents didn't happen to prevent that client from being canceled.
Okay. Well, this is a point where you need to get your pencil and paper out, because I have just pulled up my list of stuff that you could do. So firstly, you could, from your content, create a highlight reel, 60 to 90 of the best moments. And you might need extra camera or odd camera for this, because you may be audience reactions. You haven't mentioned that, which you wouldn't usually catch in a live show. You might want to do that. Speaker clips, applause moments. Oh, Now let's be honest here. Nothing a speaker likes more than a little video clip of them speaking with a large applause at the end. We all know that. Networking shots make people FOMO for not, turning up to the events. Behind the scenes. Well, I think we've mentioned that. Key quotes on the screen. Mike, I think I persuaded myself already that I need to create an app where you can maybe it's a Stream Deck app where you can have a whole set of buttons for different types of clips that you might want to collect. And somebody just sits there going, or you give it to the client and they're just going, that was a funny clip. That was an interesting clip. That's an information clip. That's a clip I wanted anyhow. No, on their little buttons, collecting all the clip things. Speaker quote clips. 60-second YouTube shorts, Instagram Reels, TikToks, and graphics for headshots and things like that. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I know. We give John way too many ideas for apps.
You do. And I'm afraid I don't write them all. So if you want to compete with me, you might find you're not competing with me because I might not get around to doing it. 10 things we learned. Oh, now that's okay. I'm going to mention that Z company, but I'm not, if you know what I mean. So when I have been part of events that I have not control of, i.e. I'm a guest, I will quite often get the recording and I will play it into one of the, I can't say this politely, one of the better events platforms, the ones that give you the analytics, and I will play the event into that product so it can give me much better AI produced summaries. And I find it works really well. So what I'm saying is, even if you've done a face-to-face event, don't miss the chance of taking the recording and putting it into some piece of software, which will give you those analysis, AI analysis of the content, whether it be a overview of the speech or there are AI bots out there now, I think. I haven't found them really good, but I'm sure they're improving, where you can just say, here's a video, give me the top 10 most important moments on this video, and they will then churn their way through and try and make sense of it. Attendee reaction content. What's your biggest takeaway? Ask the audience. I don't mean ask the audience. I mean, ask the audience. Camera, ask the audience. Get them to record their biggest takeaway. That's going to be gold to the client. I mean, even if they never even publish it, it's going to be gold to them because they got feedback. And I'll tell you, this is a secret, but you guys probably know this. You go up to somebody with a clipboard and say, can you give me your 10 best moments? They're going to walk away, especially with my face. But even an attractive young lady trying to use her charm and wit, get that clipboard filled, is going to have a bigger problem than if you get a camera and they get a chance to go on video, giving you the 10 best tips. You know how camera unshy we are nowadays. They'll take the opportunity to do that when they find the clips are going to be used. Okay. What surprised you? What sessions stood out? All those types of questions. And yes, this is an AI list I've just pulled across from my other machine. Behind the scenes content, we did mention, I think, Mike, that you've got set up rehearsals. You can sometimes do, as Mike put it, B-roll content from a speaker rehearsal that you can use pre-event, because you can use it as B-roll. So you might have a voiceover and just have it as the background content. Speaker green room, crew fixing problems, especially if they're hilarious. Empty room before the doors open, packed down afterwards. Yeah, that's good. Sponsor partner pack, photos of their stands, short video clips, attendee engagement stats, quote cards. Thank you sponsor graphics, post-event LinkedIn copy, session recaps, 3 best points, best quote. Do a competition maybe. Photo galleries, best audience speaker moments. Sometimes the audience will supply you content if you find a way of encouraging them, because they're taking photos all the time. Give them a reason for taking those photos. Data insight reports. Now, this is where face-to-face you're going to have problems. You're going to have to be a bit more inventive, whereas online is going to do it automatically. But you've got, I'm going to read the list because I don't want to miss any. Got registration, attendance, session popularity, who went to which breakout room, poll results for all the polls you wrote. Hopefully you've done them electronically, so you'll be able to store them somewhere. Q&A themes, rather than just the questions. What themes were most important? Chat themes. What was more important than chat? Many of the products out there will allow you to do chat through the phone, even when it's a face-to-face event. There's lots of products out there that can do that for you. And again, it's not a big on cost for you once you've got all your infrastructure there. Audience intrigue, interests. Intrigue actually sounds better. Maybe I'll leave that misreading in. Sponsor engagement, reply, replay views, questions we didn't have time for. You can put them into blog posts, short videos, LinkedIn posts, follow-up webinars, speaker interviews, FAQ pages. Speaker follow-up interviews, I think, are a great idea. What did you like about the audience? What questions did the audience push you on? What bits do you think the audience maybe didn't get? What were the content that you didn't have time to put in because you only had 20 minutes? Ask those sort of things. Speakers love to add content. And if they're there already, then you haven't got to drag them over to a studio for the content. They'll just do it. Events in numbers graphics. Yeah, how many speakers, how many events, how many sessions, how many people turned up, what's the satisfaction score? They're all good things. And then you can repurpose all of this for emails. I won't read that all again, but you can repurpose it for emails as well as social media. And then, of course, you've got the internal lessons learned. And the last one, the next event teaser. Didn't mention that earlier. What is the content that you can turn into B-roll to advertise the next event? Whether it's next day, the next week, the next month, or the next year, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even have to be the same subject, does it really? It's just an event. They won't know whether it's the right event or whatever. And you're not fiddling anybody by showing what a previous event looks like, even if it isn't the same subject and the same speakers.
Yep.
And that was all.
Exactly.
That was all Uncle Claude's idea. So I think Uncle Claude did very well there.
Yeah, he's all right. He did all right. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting little snippets in there too. The one that was catching my eye was, again, getting back to the bit of the B-roll stuff, is that, doing that next promo, getting that video up now. I'm glad you guys had a good time at XYZ event. Don't forget to join us next time where we're doing da-da-da-da-da-da-da type of scenario. Again, John's right. It doesn't have to be, again, if you're clever enough with your, the content that you have, it can turn into very generic content as well. So if your speaker is different, and again, this is something that you can do, or you can even teach your client to do, depending on, again, who's doing what, is to make sure that they understand everything when it comes to, how to take the certain content, how to repurpose it for future events. Heaven forbid, have even some sort of video up that actually showed the last 5 events, snippets from the last 5 events, a highlight reel of sorts. There's all kinds of different things, and heaven forbid that highlight reel could be used at the actual next event and previous events and the current event, where you have, highlights of, last time you guys were with us type of scenario. Yes, John.
And make sure it's in your contract so you can use some of those clips for your promotions too.
Yeah, of course. Yes. That is also very, very important, to make sure that you always get permission from your clients for any content that you deemed useful that could actually help your marketing purposes as well. Because again, they are the owners. It is their content, not your content. You are producing their content. So need to make sure that in your documentation, in your contracts, you actually, John's reading that Uncle Claude actually said that probably.
No. One of our viewers, M, has said, footage captured from audience with quick interviews about the event. Would the client have to get their permissions to repurpose it on social media, etc. afterwards? And the answer is,
yes. Actually, what should be done is, in your actual initial contract, is that you actually work that out with the client already. so that there's no surprises, because if you go back to them in the end, you're pretty much done with them. So all of
Yeah.
a sudden, if you saw some content that you've all of a sudden a month or two later that is deemed good, again, you got to remember that some content, especially John knows, even with content that he's been showing or dealing with lately, that there is some interesting topics that come up, let's just say.
And the ticket.
Yeah.
And the ticket. So not only are you tying the customer, your client, into how you're going to use the information afterwards, but also put it in the ticket so that all the people that are coming to it know that it's being recorded, know that there's the opportunity to do these things, and therefore the ticket is a way of actually getting them to agree that it's going to happen as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And this actually came up as a huge topic when I deal with a lot of the houses of worship, because of the fact that people do not want to be on camera necessarily at the house of worship when they're there, because they're worshiping, they're there to worship. They're not there to be on camera necessarily. And also the other reason that topic came up, and it's important for it to be on the ticket and to be on signage when they walk into the venue as well, is to basically say, beyond this point, you are being recorded and potential live streamed from this venue. If you do not want to be, legals, basically saying, beyond this point, you're on camera at any point. If you're not here, not in this area, we're not recording it, right?
Yeah.
So it gives people the, if they all of a sudden want to take a very private call, they don't want to be in the venue. So they're going to be gone outside so that there's no accidental, all of a sudden you see me on the phone talking to somebody and all of a sudden you pick up my audio accidentally. So yes, should it be on the ticket? Yes. Should it be on the signage of the venue? Yes. And should it be in the contract that you want to potentially, if there's some good snippets out of there that you would like to have authorization to use so? And there were clients that I've dealt with that said, no, you can't have any of it because it's either internal information that wasn't meant to be public. And that's also very, very important, considering the Z word or the W word or the T word. A lot of these type of scenarios could be they're using the platforms on purpose because of the privacy issues.
Yep.
So always keep that in mind as well.
So make sure you take your publicity shots that you want to promote yourselves after the event. Make sure you get them. And if you can't have them when the audience is there, then take them at the venue before the audience turns up. Take the photos of your control booth and your cameras and your setups and your lighting. Take them all when you can. And if you can't do it during the event, take them all before the event. And if there's a publicity problem, then ask if you can take a photo from the back, so people can just see how big the event is, but they can't actually see any individual or any individual slide. And maybe just say, well, if it's okay, we're going to take some photos from the back. You won't be able to see it, who it is. You won't be able to see what the thing is. We just want to give people an idea of how the venue works. And we'll show those to you so you can see that when the depth of field is going to blur out everybody, no one will be seen, and get the approval that way. But don't miss the opportunity because of the rules. Just make sure the rules fit the opportunity, I suppose I'm trying to say.
Right. And always cover your bottom basically on this too, because again, if there is certain content, which I have used in the past, I've actually said, okay, and I've actually sent them the content that I've said, these are what I'm planning on using from your content. Do you give me, even though I had it in the contract that I can use it, I've also gone back to that client and said, client, these are the clips that I want to use, or these are the photos that I want to use. Do I get your, good gracious even though it's in the contract that I can do it without even being nice to ask you, I'm still being nice to ask you that you're okay with what I'm using here. And it doesn't affect your, because again, sometimes we are getting hired as production companies by event coordinators, right? and event coordinators are being hired by the actual true client,
Mhm.
right? So
Yep.
we got to keep our event coordinators happy. We also have to keep our clients happy, and we have to keep the event coordinator happy, and the event coordinator has to keep the client happy. So there's different arrangements that go on there. So I've always done, just to make sure that I've never got into trouble, I've always said, this is what I plan on using. You tell me what's I can use and what I can't use. And
That's
don't make any
fantastic.
changes beyond that point.
And you're right about the chain of command, Mike, because if you give ideas to the event coordinator about how you can make more content during the event that they can use post, you've made you look good. When they then pass it on to the client, if there's a client involved, or even if it's the marketing department talking to the sales department, when they pass that message on that you've given to them, they're going to look good. And when those people pass it on, everybody is going to go down the line. Is going to look good for taking the ideas and making more of the event. Everybody's going to be appreciated, and everybody's going to just assume the next person up the line was the clever person when you started it all. You're going to make everybody all the way down the line happy. And frankly, you'll make the attendees happy, because all this sort of activity around an event will always make the people who attended it feel more important. There's nothing better. Oh, there are actually, okay, there's lots of things better, but there's nothing better than going to a big event and you're buzzing about it and you really enjoyed it as an attendee. And then the attendee suddenly sees feedback about the whole event happening in their social media. Because if they enjoyed the event, they're going to like those types of posts. They're going to want to put comments like, oh, I was there and I thought so-and-so was very revealing or whatever. They got a chance to take part. They got a chance to boost their ego by being proud that they were an attendee in your event. So everybody wins.
Absolutely, Johnny. And on top of that too, as you were saying that too, I was thinking to myself too, if you as a production company made the clips already too, and you're going to the event coordinator and say, can you ask your client from these clips which one they approve and don't approve, and you get the feedback of, let's say all of them are good, and then you can say, event coordinator, do you want these clips for yourself too?
Yeah.
Now you were making your event coordinator look good. The event coordinator will always hire you the next time that they have another client that isn't necessarily that client, because now you're making them look good. You guys are both sharing the clips together. They're not, they're generic clips that are going to be useful in both, not only yours, but your event coordinator's repertoire of showing off, look what we can do, right? It's always look what we can do when it comes to the production world. And that's why John was making the perfect comment going, empty venue, put up a couple slides. Heaven forbid on the iMac, when you're taking a shot of the stage, put up your logo on the iMac. Heaven forbid. Now you've branded it that it's your event. It's all your gear there. It's your staging. This is me. I can do this for you.
Yeah. You could even put one of your members of staff up on the stage. So you've got a speaker on the stage. Boost the whole thing yourself.
Yeah. And again, wearing some sort of polo that has your logo on it, do a couple of close-up shots of him pretending to be speaking into the microphone at the podium. Sure. He or she. Sure. Absolutely.
So the message from this is clear. I really hope it's clear. Don't just do an event for the sake of doing an event. Get the most value for you, the most value for the coordinator, the most value for marketing, the most value for the audience, the most value for everybody. So it's not just a couple of hours. It's a whole week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks worth of interaction with their audience. And my final plea is, please listen carefully to the music that Mike's going to play for us now, because we went to some great difficulty with our friends at Suno to get it to realize that we are the production professionals, hour. And as it did that, those musically aware may notice that there is an alternative ending now which Mike quite likes, because I saw his reaction when we played it last week. But guys, enjoy yourselves. But when you're in an event, don't feel that all the work was getting it set up and just running it's the easy bit. Extract all the value you can for you and your customer and their customers' customers and the audience and everybody. Make it memorable and interesting and fun. And you just get more money, more value out. You get more money out and they get more money out and everybody wins because everybody had to be there. The hotel bills and the travel costs don't change. You've just got more value out of that period of time. And if people don't want to do it and they want to go cheap, well, they're the ones that aren't really worth bothering with. I think that's all I can say. Thank you, Mike, for being here. Thank you, guys, for being here. Thank you for our questions in YouTube. And we'll see you all next week when I think we're probably going to talk about the in-meeting graphics. Unless something groundbreaking happens before that, that will be our subject for next week. So as I always say, Mike does it better than me. Check he gets the time zones right. But thank you all for being here. Over to you, Mike.
Check that he gets the time zones right. All right. Let me see. Time zone, right? That's part of the script. Okay, let's see. Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, everyone. And to let Zoom know, YouTube know, and of course, if you're watching us on LinkedIn, to let LinkedIn know how much you love our content. Ah, look at me throwing that in there. And yes, John, we actually seem to be broadcasting on LinkedIn today. So if anybody did miss us here on YouTube, as well as missed us on Webinar Plus, you will now actually have access to us on LinkedIn. So that's great. Don't forget to, as I said, like and subscribe. And of course, that lets YouTube know and LinkedIn know how much you love our content. And don't forget, yes, we're here every Friday. And John, wait for it, at noon Eastern. So that's 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And check your local time zones. And John's giving me the thumbs up that I got all of them right. And check your local time zones to make sure that you can find us when we are here live. And as you saw, we're answering questions live from our friends that come to visit us here every week on the Production Professionals Power Hour. Take care, everyone. See you next Friday. And for those fathers on the weekend, happy Father's Day. Take care.